Peace, family. I'm back again. Now, I always talk about, when dealing with foundational Black Americans, we teach people how to treat us. We have to be responsible for ourselves and each other, right? When you look at yourself in the mirror and you see that reflection, you have to like what you see. You have to love yourself in order to love anybody else. And if we want other groups to respect us, we have to first start respecting ourselves. The first part of reparations is repairing the mind, right? Is repairing the mind. That's the first aspect of reparations, right? The brother Isaiah Factor, Uncensored, he has some foundational Black Americans on his channel, and they had a great discussion on what we need to do in our communities, how we can transform our communities, how we can clean some things up. Now we're going to go over this today. I'm gonna critique some things. I'm gonna give my opinions on some things, but I want you guys, when you're watching this, when this is over, every foundational Black American leave a comment. Let me know what you think we should do. What's your opinion based off of what we watched today? Do not watch this and don't leave a comment. Everybody leave it. So we're going to get off into this. And, they have a panel of foundational Black Americans. And I'm going to break this thing down, man. Let's get off into it.
Factor Uncensored tonight. A real question. Are Black people judged by stereotypes more than other races? The numbers say many believe so. A Pew study found 63% of Black Americans say media coverage is more negative, and nearly 4 in 5 say they see stereotypical depictions. Tonight, we ask on our viewers on Instagram at the Isaiah Factor, do Black people get stereotyped more? 82% said yes, 18% said no. So why does one person's action sometimes define an entire community, the race? Is this bias, perception, or something deeper? Joining us to talk about it, we have Derek Muhammad, Todd Smith, Jasmine Terry, Reginald OG1 Gordon, and Banke here on The Factor Uncensored. Now, Todd, this was your idea. I saw it on your Instagram.
Yes.
I said, let's do this topic on the show. What have you seen out there that gives you this message?
What I see out there are excuses to why African Americans are treated badly. Like, all of us probably as Black men have gone to the malls, especially when we were younger. You had a white person clutch their purse, follow you around the store. And the reason that they would give is, well, most thieves are Black. Mm-hmm. Most shoplifters are Black. So that becomes a stereotype of an entire race of people, but we never see the flip side of that. Statistics show us that most school shootings are done by white males, but we don't see people running out of schools every time a white boy goes into the schoolhouse. Most child pornography producers, 70 to 75% are white men.
Oh, yes.
Most sexual offenders, 50-something% are white men, but we don't see Black mothers clutching their children when a white person walks into the mall. And it comes from hatred. Everybody has prejudice, but
well, it comes from psychological conditioning. The pirates of the Jack Sparrow and the pirates conditioned you to believe that you're something that you're not. So now you respond to it. They got you saying that you on demon time, unaliving your own people. They got you calling yourself a bad bee. They got you, all the things that they've done to you, they got you doing to each other. Think of this, 400 years of oppression, 100 years of Jim Crow and Jim Crow and black codes and over 5,000 lynchings and all these different things. When you walk down the street and 2 white men are walking up the street, they cross the street. You should be afraid. You should run when you see them based off the historical narrative, right? If you get on the elevator and there's a W woman on there, you should make an about face. But somehow they condition the world and you to believe that you are the predator. You are the violent person. That's psychological conditioning and programming over time.
I think hatred is so ingrained in some people's mind. And me and Derek talked about this before the panel. Hatred and these stereotypes were placed on us to justify our mistreatment, to justify our enslavement, to justify brutality against us. Because how can you treat a human being like an animal?
And it was at one point called subhuman.
Thank you. You have to put it in your mind that these people are subhuman. These stereotypes are true. And that hatred has gone down from generation.
That's how the elite oligarchs condition poor W's to come and do the things that they done. You know how when people say, well, it's a poor people versus rich people. No, those poor W's became your enemies because those rich oligarchs trained them to come. When you look at those images of us being lynched from poles and set on fire, those was poor W's that was doing that, right? You never seen the Carnegie family or the Vanderbilts come and do that to lynch anybody. They was using poor W's to do that. So make no mistake about it. Them people are your enemies too.
Generation. So when a white person does something negative, it's not seen as indicative to the whole race. But when one black person does something negative, you could have 10 black people with doctorates. Let one black person drop out of high school. See, all of them are uneducated. Well, what about the 10 that have doctorates? So it comes from a deep-seated hatred. And until we can, I don't think we can do it. We just have to pray. Unless we change people's heart, these stereotypes will continually negatively affect us more than other people.
And what is the trickle-down effect that we see as a people, Balgay?
I think we saw this on the panel a couple of weeks ago. We see accusations.
And that was a panel about
the
black
vilification.
women being vilified.
Absolutely. And then we were on the panel and we were vilified while being on the panel.
Absolutely.
But I think what to me is more damaging, and I think all the points that Todd made are true, is when it becomes internalized. Right? When we start to, so let's say you have a bad experience with a black business, then it's, oh, you know how black business is. But if you go into a white restaurant and they're not on point, you don't make this sweeping indictment about white businesses. And then on the other hand, you have.
But would that be interracial issues, black and black?
Yes, but that's why I said to me what's more damaging, because like you said, we can't control other people's hearts, right? My focus is always on my own people. So when I see us start to internalize these stereotypes, that's the piece to me that really piques my interest.
Well, we do that a lot of times. You know, they got this upscale restaurant here in Philadelphia, right? Downtown, prime real estate. A black man owns this restaurant, and it's high. It's very high. You know, when you go into this restaurant, the drinks are high, the food, and I hear a lot of black people complaining, right, about the drinks are too high, it's too pricey. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. He's downtown. Steak 48 is up the street. Ocean Prime is around the corner. The Barclay is up the block, right? And when you go in there, if you and your wife is going there, you paying $500 at least, right? All of a sudden you're complaining. But see, we always say that, we got $1 trillion spending power. We got to do better. A lot of times y'all go into black establishments looking for something wrong so you can complain about. And you'll say, no, I don't do it. Subconsciously, yes, you do. A lot of y'all do it, right? And what I'm saying is we have to learn to be patient with our people. We're starting to build. We're starting to produce and create again for ourselves. And sometimes, man, the customer service and everything, it's going to take time. It's going to take time because we've been kept out of the loop for so long. So be patient with your people, man. Do not go in there with the same stereotypical lens that them W's condition us to see our own people through. We can't do that.
And then even the idea of positive stereotypes, like I've seen on social media, white women bragging about this, like, oh, I teach my children if they get lost in the grocery store, go find a black woman. And it's like, I'm not here to do your labor. So what you're saying is that we're trustworthy, we're nurturing, we'll put the country on the back.
Mammy syndrome.
The mammy syndrome. And all these things are, true and positive, but let us decide, right?
You don't know how to deal with that positive, huh? You're like,
it's
positive in a 50s, 60s.
Right. Yeah. It's more labor. We're the muse of the earth.
Absolutely.
And Reginald, is there denial, though, in our community?
Absolutely. And I say that to say because, even going back to the 1990s when one of the most powerful women that sits in the White House called Hillary Clinton put the negative stereotype out on super predators being black boys, on how it had affected hundreds of thousands of black boys ending up going to prison, being called, dehumanize them as animals, tough on crime, tough on juvenile, being kicked out of school. So when she put that negative stereotype on calling young boys super predators, that played a huge role. And still today, young boys playing that, looking at themselves in that negative way.
Go ahead, Derek. Real quick, Derek, your thoughts about this. Are we, however, letting some individuals slip through the cracks and not calling them out for their behavior in the black community?
Of course, I would say that we are letting some individuals slip through the cracks, but
and then again, I would ask, is that our responsibility as a people?
Well-
Because when you think about the white community, the Hispanic community, everyone didn't have to be responsible for everyone.
Yeah, well, we have to. I was always taught that if you want to solve a problem, you have to go to the root of the problem. And even though we do have a problem with black inferiority complexes, and as my sister stated, we go into a black-owned business and we have one bad experience, and all of a sudden there's a sweeping indictment. I'll see. This is why I don't support black-owned businesses. But if
we do that because we've been conditioned to see ourselves that way. And sometimes we do it subconsciously, not even realizing it. Because when you raised in this country and the way that they programmed us to be like, look at those Negroes over there. So one person do it, everybody get the blame, right? So you are affected by that. But let's proceed.
you have a bad experience in an Asian-owned businesses, you may not go back to that particular location, but it's not an indictment on all Asian-owned businesses. But where does this come from? It comes from centuries of conditioning. People have been conditioned to think the worst of Black people. And when you have been conditioned to think the worst of a community, then you're gonna always look.
But we've been conditioned to think the worst of ourselves. That's why we come online and commit verbal genocide on each other every day. We're not passing down generational wealth. We could talk all day about W supremacy and what the W man did, but let's talk about our reaction and response to it. Based off of a response to it, when we do a critical analysis and we look at our communities, right, we've been conditioned to have self-hate, right, and not produce. Because at the end of the day, we can say that nobody's coming to save us and we got to save ourselves, then it's incumbent upon us to do something about it. We got to do something about it. We got to remedy our own problem. Well, let's proceed.
For the worst. You see a 6'2" Black boy. First question you ask him is, do you play basketball? You see a 6'2" white boy. Oh, he might be, the president one day. There are all of these negative stereotypes about Black fathers, even though the CDC came out with a study that says that Black fathers are more involved and engaged in their children's lives on a day-to-day basis than anybody else. Same with Black women. Look at Michelle Obama. Michelle Obama defied all of those stereotypes. She was the most graceful first lady that this country has ever seen. And because they couldn't find anything negative about her character, they started talking about the way the sister looked, even though she's beautiful. As if Barbara Bush and Nancy Reagan were beauty queens.
We got to take a break there. I ain't running from it. We just have to take a break there. Up next, before we let Jasmine help us land it, we ask the hard question. Is it the system or are we part of the problem too? We'll expand on that. Stay with us here on The Factor. And welcome back to The Factor Uncensored. Now, the why. Is this about bias or accountability? Let's get back to the panel. Jasmine, your thoughts on what we have seen on social media, on television, around the country, around the world.
Around the world. So for me, it's always why, right? We ask the question why. I think it's purposefully done to interrupt us, because you interrupt us, we can't focus. You have us so distracted looking at what's going on with the police, right? We're distracted with what's on television. We're distracted with the music industry. There's so many ways that they're purposely trying to distract us as Black people that is sickening, right? Because the moment they know that we smell the resilience that we have, that they cannot control us. The world gaslights.
See, this goes back to what I always tell you. When you respond to that what you are not, then you can't manifest anything. Whatever you meant, well, yes, you can. Whatever you manifesting will be for them. The parasitic elites, they parasite off of your spirituality. I tell you this all the time. When I'm in my bishop mode and I'm telling you, you are not what they said you were. The problem that you have is you have these systems and our people are connected to that Democrat or Republican Party, not realizing that these parties are here to parasite off of your spirituality, off of your likeness, right? And their job is to keep you believing that you're something that you're not. So you can manifest for them and not for self, right? Let's proceed more, because I'm gonna really break this down.
Black people around the world, the Asian community, the Latin community, everyone. And you think about it, the question is always why. And as we ask why, we go deeper into history to understand, right? The main purpose is to keep us distracted, that we cannot focus. We can't focus on the family. We can't focus on the economic power that we need to focus on, right? You want to have us distracted with the media. You want to distract us with the music industry, you know? So, and this is what the children listen to. This is not knocking entertainment, right? But this is who they have purposely designed to control our people, right? Mm-hmm. It's not what the fathers in the homes, right? It's done through media. And when we think about it, who are we as people uninterrupted? Right? When we're not worried about
here we go.
George Floyd got killed in the middle of the street, right? We worried about what they're saying about us and somebody shaking their ass over here on the other side. Can I say that? I'm sorry.
She said, who are we as a people uninterrupted? We're foundational Black Americans, reclaiming our heritage. That's who we are. We're waking up and understanding who we are, because the first line of reparations is the repair of the mind. No man comes into the kingdom but by the transforming and the renewing of the mind. Romans, right? We got to know who we are first, right? And when I look at myself in the mirror and I love my reflection, I love you. I want for my brother and my sister what I want for myself. When I love my brother, I ain't got to talk about protecting the sisters, because if I love my brother and want for my brother what I want for myself, his sister, daughters, mother, everybody automatically become protected, because I love mine the same way he loved his, right? That's it, right? Each one teach one. Love your brother. Build, right? It's they got you, they have you going outside of yourself for everything you need, so you're conditioned to be subordinate to everybody but your own people, because everything that you need, from your drawers to your toothpaste to everything, you got to go to other groups, and they know that Black dysfunction is profitable. The Black mind is profitable for everybody else, man. That's why you got to take it back.
But I mean, I'm just saying, who are we as people uninterrupted? I heard a lady on Instagram who made that statement, and I was like, wow, who am I, Jasmine Terry, uninterrupted, when I'm not distracted with the noise, when I can focus on my spirituality, when I can focus on empowering my brother, empowering my sister? Who am I?
And so my question for the group, we've all heard of self-determination. Why do we have to be distracted? Why can't we as individuals focus? What's going on out there that's preventing us from doing that, Todd?
I just think it's too much media. You know, it's too much. It's too many distractions. It's hard not to be distracted with your cell phone cameras. You're seeing Black folks getting in the fights. You're seeing brawls. You're seeing, like she said, the racism. Mm-hmm. You're seeing it's hard to be focused on what's important in life because there are too many voices. And we talked about parents, and Derek talked about how Black parents are more involved than anybody else. But it's kind of hard being a parent 24 hours a day when you have your child is away from you most of the time.
It's by design.
Yeah.
It's by design that Black people around the world are distracted. They are in our other cultures, are in our communities making money. Yeah. They're around here controlling what our children listen to. They're teaching your children. The last panel, we sat here with a woman who said, I was a teacher at an inner city school.
And that's a problem.
This is a person that is teaching your children. Yeah. So we have to get to teach, feeding our own. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad talked about how we have to teach our people. You can't allow people to control us. It's in our community.
The problem I have with these kind of conversation is, we come in here and we talk all this stuff and it sound good, right? But what's the plan? See, you'll never hear them talk about policies and how policy works in NGOs, right? NGOs and how money is being disseminated, allocated to different groups and these nonprofits and these social services and programs are set up by the Democratic Party. I don't talk about the Republicans because we've been voting Democrat for the last 60-something years. Where is the budget for it? Where's for saying we got to build the community? We got to build this. Where's the budget for it? I see budgets going to immigrants and migrants. I see budgets going to build houses for immigrants. I see budgets going to the Skittles community. Where is the budget for foundational Black Americans to repair their communities through this Democratic Party? Where's those budgets? They don't have the budget. So it sounds good saying this, but they never, ever talk about where we're going to get the money to redevelop it, to redevelop your people. This is where you got to listen. No emotion. We just listen.
And we're purposely distracted. We are purposely distracted because the moment you are not distracted, you can focus. You're resilient. We created American culture. Look what African culture do around the world. The innovation, what Black Americans created in the United States, the world utilizes.
And if young Black people realize that, it would just change the world. If you realize that you are not just the gangster image that you see on a Star's TV show, you're not just the gangster image that the record companies are paying the radio stations to play, and the debauchery and the music. And you come from greatness.
Absolutely.
But that is why history is trying to be rewritten in the school. I can't teach you the greatness of your people.
You can't.
I can't teach you about the Black astronaut Victor Glover who just went to the moon. I'm gonna try to X that out. Pretty soon that'll be X'd out of the science books. I have to make you, like you said, distracted. So
you have to be so interrupted.
Yeah.
So, Derek, you and Reginald both work with young people. How do you take the blinders off those young people? And
wait a minute. See, now the thing that you need to realize is they want to keep you asleep for a reason. As long as they keep you asleep, you can keep that. They stop you from keeping the money circulating through your community. Black women give births to billion dollar industry boys and girls every day. They come right out of their womb. We send them right to them W universities, right? If we kept them now, we know that we could go and say, well, those Black HBCUs are owned by white folks, but no. If we brought that money back to the HBCUs where we are, right? And we brought that advertising money and everything else back to our communities, right? You have some type of cultural integrity, right? Cultural pride. You bring everything back because you are the money. See, it's still a plantation. On the plantation, you are the money. You are the work, right? If you turn around and keep everything for yourself, then they will have to come serve you. The problem is we give everything away because we've lost our minds. We lost who we are. And there's no economic budget set up to reclaim that. They don't have a budget. When you go look at the budgets that's set up for these Democrats, it goes to POC and everybody else, not coming back to redevelop the mindset of our people. No.
make them aware of some of the things that Jasmine and Todd are talking about, the accomplishments other than what they see immediately on social media?
Well, you have to take them out of the environment that has them distracted. You have to place them in an environment that suits their nature. You have to place them in an environment, and you have to teach them from a curriculum that they see themselves in. Absolutely. So yes, we are being interrupted, but we must never forget that we're also being targeted. And that propaganda has always been used to justify oppression, all the way from the transatlantic slave trade. They had to paint the picture that we were savages with bones in our noses, even though we were builders of civilization on the continent of Africa. But they had to create that globalized propaganda to justify what they did to our ancestors. Absolutely. They had to do the same for the Jim Crow era. They had to do the same in the era of lynching. They had to create propaganda. What do they call us, super predators? Absolutely. To justify mass incarceration. Absolutely. So the more we learn about ourselves, the less likely we are susceptible to fall for this propaganda, this anti-Black propaganda.
See, Brother Muhammad know the truth, but the problem is they're not really telling the truth. What you have to do is look at the betrayal of both of these parties that we served, right? From the Republican Party to the Lily White groups that went against us, to the New Deal where we were shifting, all the way to LBJ where we were shifting back and forth between both parties of betrayal. Lies, right? That caused the demise of our communities, right? So we have to pinpoint that, point that out, reteach our children, but also if you're going to be voting Democrat, force them to create a budget where we can make this thing a reality. If not, we just blowing out hot air and running our mouth, because we can see based off of history that just these conversations don't work. You got to have the money and create the infrastructure. If you're not creating it, and how you create the infrastructure, you got to find out where your support been going and what they've been doing wrong while you giving them the support, and reverse it. But let's proceed.
And that is just, it's American culture at this point.
And there's also
we're going to have to take a break.
Okay.
We'll come back and put you to work.
Oh, not work. I don't labor, honey.
We're going to use your knowledge tonight.
Okay, I like that.
All right, we'll be right back. Stay with us. We're going to talk solutions. And welcome back.
Responsible We didn't create this narrative. I think it's been detailed in how history and how profitable this narrative is when we're talking about the media. If it bleeds, it leads, right? And since these stereotypes are so ingrained in our society, it's familiar for people to see this. Even when it comes down to like the coverage of criminals, like, or even when somebody unfortunately passes, the pictures that are chosen are used to display the same image. But we as Black people, and again, I don't waste my time with what our counterparts are doing, right? We have more of an investment in our advancement. So we as Black people, even when we're teaching our history, it's such a balance to be had, and that it's not so steeped in the oppression. Like, oh, we were able to do all of this despite of. No, we were able to do all of this because of who we are. Because what I see happening now is that we are even using more of the negative stereotypes. Like, it's people speak more about things that they don't like than what we want more of. And whatever you give your attention, it grows. I don't want to see conservatives talking down.
People speak more about what they don't like because they don't have the knowledge or they don't have the knowledge or the foresight to remedy their problem. This is why. That's based off of trauma.
On us, right? I want to see Black people in various ways showing accountability, and that accountability is often rooted in opportunity. You say pull yourself up by your bootstraps where the person doesn't have legs, right? And of course I'm speaking figuratively, so I just think it's nuanced, and we can't look to the people who are benefiting from our oppression to clean up our image.
All right.
We have to do that.
And Reginald, what are your thoughts about accountability as a people and individuals who may be those stereotypes in dealing with them as well?
Well, you know, I've always been a statement that I've always said, when Black men stand up, our boys will sit back down. And once we get back into our community, clean up our...
Now, that sound good. When Black men stand up, our boys will sit back down. Let's hear that.
Community, because boys gonna only be what they actually see. And as they see men standing up, doing the right thing, cleaning up our own neighborhood, rebuilding our family structure, I've always had a program I had in place called the Rites of Passage that I've been wanting to put together. We have to take over back our communities, go back in these public schools. I'm in the schools dealing with young people on that level because I want them to see me. Every time you see me, I'm suited and booted. I want to be the example that they can see. So if they see something new, they can change to be something different, even though my past...
Well, when they asked Kamala what's she going to do something specifically for Black people, she said she won't. She said she had to lift up all program. That doesn't benefit the Black community. Again, I'm going to ask again, what is the budget for this? Huh? So now we no longer doing things based off race. We're doing things based off of lineage because we know that we need reparations and we need to be prepared in order to achieve these goals. And is there a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, a 20-year plan? Right? We need a plan with a financial budget to actually execute this plan over time.
Tells that I can change, they can change. So we have to put programs in place to where we take over the community, rebuild, reestablish the families, go in these schools, take over these jails, and everybody that come out to jail have to come in front of a panel of people to teach them the way of life. We have to reteach these brothers once they get out these jails and these juvenile facilities. And even dealing with our boys, when we already know in our school systems, we know that the public school is not good for our children because they're getting into 12th grade, graduating with a 5th grade education.
Yes,
so we have a lot of work to do on our...
Yes, they just being passed through and they can't read, right? We know all this, right? But you want to get into the prisons when you create these bounce back programs and they coming out of prison. What systems do you have in place where you can hire your own people knowing that they got felonies? Again, what's the budget for it? See, we got to start cutting this stuff short when we had these conversations. It sound good, but hey, you got 2 parties in this country. Okay, so we saying this is what we want. Where do we get the money from to execute? If not, we wasting our time. What are we talking about? At this point, I'm tired of these conversations because it goes nowhere, right? We know we got a 15th degree black belt on knowing what we're supposed to do, right? But the actual execution of it over time is why the communities are staying in the position that they are, right? And a lot of it is from W supremacy, but a lot of it is because of us. It's because of us, gatekeepers whose job is to keep our communities the way it is, and a lot of people that's running their mouth without the knowledge to fix the problem.
part to re-clean up our community to make it a better place for our children once they step out the door to see good men standing up, being men.
And Derek, one of the things you mentioned, and it almost sounds like Carter G. Woodson's book, Miseducation of the Negro. How do you reverse that? And do you solely see from the perspective of Reginald there, where we also have a big responsibility in the community first, and then we work outwards?
Yeah, absolutely. I always believe that you're most effective when you focus on what it is that you can control. You may not be able to control what goes on in the White House, but you can control what goes on in your house. What we have to do is we have to make sure we have a well-developed and well-established vision for our community as a whole, regardless of your religion, regardless of your ideology, regardless of our differences. Let us set that aside and let us create a vision for our community. Now, as it relates to these stereotypes, what we have to do is we have to start telling our own stories. We have to create our own narratives. And those narratives have to feed the vision that we have set forth for our community. So we gotta...
We've been telling our own stories, but Tyler Perry and that other dude that's right here from my city, he made that movie. What's that? What's the Skittle, the boy from the Skittles crew, the black dude? When we make the stories, we make stories about the destruction of our people. We rarely promote positive stuff. Now you have some brothers that's coming out now making movies about positivity and changing the narrative of the way we could subconsciously see ourselves. But the Tyler Perrys and that other dude, that other Skittles dude, that when he made that, he could won all those awards for those black women where they was depicting black men hurting black women. Oh man, like this is when we get on the stage, look at what we do. Look at what we do online. That's why I said we got to change our mindset.
That allow differences internally. We have to come together and establish a black agenda that is by black people and for black people, and the stories that we tell, the narratives that we create has to lead us down the path of accomplishing what we've set forth in that agenda.
And it's no conspiracy against you, Derek. There's another commercial break.
Stereotypes. All my life I had to fight.
And welcome back to The Factor Uncensored, and we are wrapping up with our guest. One of the things you said, Derek, really quick, is focusing on the black family, trying to get it together, dealing with your household. But many people take offense to that and feel like if we talk about that, that may be against them. But that's not against them. That's improving us.
Yes, well, self-improvement is the basis for community development. So everything starts with self. And again, we must start with that which we can control. We have to also accept reality. And the reality is, for 400 plus years, Black people have been systematically placed at the bottom of the totem pole. Like, this country has been conditioned to think the worst of us. So if you live in a country where you've been targeted and everybody thinks the worst of you, you gotta double down on your own community self-esteem. So when I look at you, Isaiah, knowing that the rest of this country thinks the worst of you, I'm busy trying to find the best in you. And when I'm looking for the best in my brother or my sister, then I'm gonna get busy doing what I gotta do to bring the best out of you, even if you're not, behaving that way in the moment, because you be cut up sometime, brother. But we have to change the way that we see one another. And once we go down that road, I don't think we can be stopped.
All right, Jasmine, we're gonna let you land it.
I think it's extremely important that we get back to having, which I called a culture code. You know what I mean? This is what we do as a culture. This is not my culture, right? And I think everyone has their hands in the pot, and they're literally misguiding us on what path we should do and what we should do, and we should only teach our own. And we also need to dismantle those systems that they present to us. I do think we should have a Black tax, which we tax ourselves to the betterment of our community. right? And that's something that needs to be structured, but we need to take care of our own people, and not waiting for anyone to give us anything, not waiting for the president or someone else to make a decision on how we should move. As Black people, we should have a agenda, and we stick to it like every other culture do.
All right, I'm gonna stop it right there. And I'm gonna come back. Everybody that watches, like I said, leave a comment, because based off the amount of comments, I'm gonna do a stream on this, and I'm gonna open up the panel, and we're gonna have a conversation on this. No arguments, no emotion, a real conversation about this, right? Because remember, I always tell you guys, you are responsible for the way people treat you by the way you treat yourself and the way you treat your own people. When you look at yourself in the mirror, you have to love your reflection. The first part of reparations is part of the repair of something. We have to repair our minds, the way we've been conditioned to see ourselves. And when we start reconditioning the way we see ourselves, we'll bring about a change that we desire. Right? I often say when I'm teaching the kids with urban nerves, I change the way that they speak. If I could change the way that they speak, I could change the way that they see themselves. If I could change the way that they see themselves, I could change their outcomes. And that same thing applies to us adults. We have to make the change to bring about the desires that we want. We can't keep going along this way, right? And then sometimes in change, things hurt. It hurts. It's not always easy. But we're going to have to make the moves, man. And we're going to have to start thinking futuristic, not just about the stuff. A lot of y'all have developed, I can't wait to get the F out of here syndrome, right? How many of y'all been in your communities where you see a dead body on the ground and it's taped out the police, or you've been assaulted or by an adult, or you had some things happen to you and you develop, I can't wait to get out of here. I can't wait to get the F away from these people, right? You suffer from that traumatic experiences, right? And we're operating based off of trauma and the way we're doing things, right? And when we do that, it makes us operate selfishly. Everything is about me. So it stops you from thinking futuristic and about the people coming behind you. Right? We do everything with a 10, 20 year in advance. Your grandparents, your great-great-great-grands, when they was inside on them plantations, they was thinking about you. When your grandmama and them was marching, they was thinking about you. When your parents went to work in 2-degree weather, they was thinking about you. They was plowing the road and preparing a road for you, preparing a table for you. That's what they was. So now today, and all your trauma, you've lost sight of that, and you're no longer preparing the road. You're no longer thinking futuristic. You're no longer preparing for the children and grandchildren that will come behind you. So now just think about it. Think about if your grandmama and great-grandmama and great-grandfathers and them would have said, I don't feel like it today. What positions would you be in? Because they plowed the road, you have to plow the road. Because they thought futuristic, you have to think futuristic. And when you start to renew the mind and think futuristic, it's nothing that these parasite jackals can do to stop you. Nothing. They conditioned you to believe that you were something you was not, and hit you with the Freddy Krueger effect. You've lost your ability to dream. You've lost your ability to see yourself outside of your current circumstances. Because when you go into the dream world, Freddy is there to unalive you. They put it in the movie and you thought you was watching a movie, but that's an actual reality. You've lost your ability to dream. If you lost your ability to imagine and see yourself outside of these circumstances, to recreate the circumstances that you would desire. And when you start to redevelop that mindset again, watch out. Because we already influence the world just with our bodies and not even our heads. So imagine when we connect the head back to the body. It's over again. Freddy Krueger no longer has any power over you. But everybody leave a comment in the comments. Y'all got me in my bishop mode. Let me stop. Let me everybody leave a comment in the comment section. Let me know what you guys think. And let me know if you all want to further this discussion. All right. So remember, I love y'all. To the next time. Peace.